Skidmore students, and who names a college after dirty underwear? Skidmore students demand the firing of 2 professors who attended a pro-police rally. Yep, you heard it. That's what happens when you let children lead adults around by the nose and tell them that their ignorance and arrogance are the same thing as moral righteousness. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and seriously, Skidmore? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Before we get to our first story, I want to take a moment, mention to you our brand new Patriot Club. Yes, that's true. You can become a member of a club that's patriotic. They're dwindling. As most of you know, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter are not big fans of our show. Anybody who tells the truth doesn't get over very well. In fact, the Dr. Duke Show is hard for most people to find on the major platforms unless you directly visit our landing pages. To fight back against this demonization and demonetization, we've launched our brand new Patriot Club. For a once a year, $99 tax-deductible donation, you can keep this show going. And as a token of our appreciation, we'll ship you this spiffy stainless steel tumbler etched with the American flag and the words, "Freedom never tasted so good." All you have to do is visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us, and be part that they're rapidly making the word patriot into something evil. So stand by it. Don't let them take that word from us. All right. Today we start at a liberal arts college, Skidmore in New York State, where students are demanding 2 professors be fired for the simple offense of daring, how dare they, in their own private time, attend a pro-police rally. The kids are outraged by this, and the university is taking their sweet time, not immediately exonerating the professors, not saying, hey, they're adults, they can do what they want. They're seriously investigating this terrible infraction of what? Good taste, common sense, of daring to offend the sensibilities of the terminally offended?
Yep, so all these students, they want these 2 professors, a married couple, to be fired because they went to the Back the Blue rally. Again, on their own time, not as part of a class, not as part of anything, but on their own time. And in a letter, the students actually claim, it was David and Andrea Peterson, by the way. David and Andrea Peterson, the students claim that their decision to attend the Back the Blue rally was unacceptable. And they claim the administration should require the couple to address if their pro-police viewpoints impact their teaching skills. I am emailing you absolutely outraged at the fact that Skidmore studio art professors, they're studio art professors.
The bigger shock here is that you've got artsy-fartsy people who support the police.
Yes. David Peterson and Andrea Peterson were seen protesting with Blue Lives Matter protesters while Skidmore alumni and students were being tear-gassed and attacked on the other side of the street. That's what the letter says. It also says this is absolutely unacceptable and reinforces what we art students have always known. I can't read it without laughing. I apologize. Not really. That Professor David Peterson is a racist, sexist, and has made a studio space that is not inclusive through his consistent mistreatment and disregard for non-cis white male students. But now he is openly advocating and preaching exclusionary, racist, and fascist ideologies.
Well, it's not attending a meeting is not overtly saying anything, right?
Well, it is. The protesters on both sides are overtly doing something.
It shows you how backward they are.
Well,
the fact that he attended in his own private way, in his own private life, that rally means he is now overtly preaching this. And how would your pro-police policies, how would that affect your teaching example? We want to know.
Studio art.
We want to know, right? That when you're teaching us how to sketch, are you doing it somehow with a jackboot on? Do you have bring handcuffs to class?
This is what I don't understand.
How does this manifest itself?
If you would have said English teacher, okay, but then again, are you going to find an English teacher who actually is pro-police other than that
I wouldn't
one?
have thought you'd have
It's about the same person.
I would imagine maybe even fewer art, first of all, there are so few art teachers vis-a-vis English professors. I would think that art would be one of the few disciplines where it might actually even be worse than English in terms of their left-wing bona fides. It really is shocking. I mean, being an English professor means you could teach you could teach the Bible, you could teach Shakespeare, you could have a more conservative bent to things. Very few of us do. But in art, I mean, art has become agitprop for the last 40 years. It's all political. It's an excuse to talk about politics in the context of being pretentiously artistic.
Yeah, I just wonder when they're saying that the studio space is not inclusive, what they mean by that is
cisgendered white men.
Disregard for the non-cis white male students. So, art teacher, I'm not an art person, so I've never understood how they operate in their brain. But
the fact that they say he's not non-cisgendered friendly, in other words, he's not gay friendly or trans friendly, means that he probably doesn't spend any time promoting it. That's This is what gets me in trouble all the time. There's a controversy going on about me right now. University newspaper painted another stupid hit piece, ignored all the evidence to the contrary, made me look bad. Now I've got idiots, former students of mine, who wailed and cried like little babies, left the classroom because I had them sign a contract. I've actually got one on Facebook who now I think she works in the library, complete clown show student, who couldn't stand the fact that I passed out a contract, and in that contract the first day, I made them sign on to the fact that all of them had free speech, including her. Including her. Had she stayed, she could have said anything she wanted. And she won't point. Now she's arguing with everybody on Facebook what a racist bigot I am. But she can't even be bothered to acknowledge the fact that the contract guaranteed free speech. And of all the complaints I've ever had, including hers, no one's ever accused me of not letting them say what they want to say. And yet this is the kind of way that their little minds operate. By having a contract guaranteeing everybody's free speech, he's bullying people. He's bullying liberal people. By letting non-liberal voices have a voice in his classroom, he's bullying liberals. And I had to drop his class, and now I work for the university. I'm going to get on Facebook and tell everybody what a meanie he is. This is what we do on college campuses. So thick and stupid are these kids that they can't tell the difference between free speech for all and free speech for me. They think by limiting free speech, that's what's happening here at Skidmore, right? The fact that Mr. Peterson isn't actually pushing for their worldview at the expense of others means he must hate them.
Well, shocker to not shocker, George Washington University is in the news again. And we have, I can't stop laughing today because this story really got me. We have a professor from George Washington University who basically has said for a long, long time that she's a black woman. But now she just can't live with herself anymore. And she finally says, I'm white. Her name is Jessica Krug. And she decided, she's an associate professor of history. And her history is not good. She's decided to cancel herself. Actually cancel herself. And she's been living this lie that she's a black woman when she's white. And she wrote a post on Medium, and it's called The Truth and the Anti-Black Violence of My Lies. She writes, for the better part of my adult life, every move I've made, every relationship I've formed has been rooted in the napalm toxic soil of lies. Not just any lies. To an escalating degree over my adult life, I have eschewed my lived experience as a white Jewish child in suburban Kansas City under various assumed identities within a blackness that I had no right to claim. First North African blackness, then U.S.-rooted blackness, then Caribbean-rooted Bronx blackness. I have not only claimed these identities as my own when I had absolutely no right to do so. There we go. When doing so is the very epitome of violence, of thievery and appropriation, of the myriad ways in which non-black people continue to use and abuse black identities and cultures. She continues, but I have formed intimate relationships with loving, compassionate people who have trusted and cared for me when I have deserved neither trust nor caring. People have fought together with me and have fought for me, and my continued appropriation of a black Caribbean identity is not only, in the starkest terms, wrong, unethical, immoral, anti-black, colonial, but it means that every step I've taken has gaslighted those whom I love.
Yeah, the whole thing is stupid. This is in everything she does. She's an attention whore, right? And so now she's going to get this great attention for calling out her own. Because this is the thing, right? You're only a hero if you're a victim.
Yes.
And what better way for her to be a victim than to get canceled?
by herself.
Right, by herself.
She's outed
doing
herself.
it. And the university apparently is going along with it. Everybody else at the university is demanding she be fired. Untenure her, right? Where you're making the same argument about Elizabeth Warren, are you? So the difference between her and Elizabeth Warren is Elizabeth Warren didn't out herself. She was outed by others.
Yes.
And yet she's still a perfectly great progressive and a college professor in great standing now, even though she appropriated Native American culture. The thing that she's doing here is she's taken it to that next step. This is what Black Lives Matter has given us now, right? It's not enough to acknowledge whatever made-up racial privilege you have. You have to condemn yourself. In a way, she's doing exactly what she's listening to Black Lives Matter more closely than almost anybody else has, right? And so she's canceled herself. And because of the culture she helped build, they're going to go ahead and cancel her for it.
But what does that even mean? She says, I should absolutely be canceled. No, I don't write in passive voice ever because I believe we must name power. So, that's its own sentence. So, you should absolutely cancel me. I absolutely cancel myself.
Well, she doesn't write in past tense, but look what she does.
Passive voice.
She doesn't say cancel me.
She also doesn't write in complete sentences, but she's just doing this.
She says then shut up and say cancel me. Don't say you should cancel. Because should is one of those conditionals, right? Maybe you oughta, but maybe you won't. Just come out and say
But she
cancel
says, and I absolutely cancel myself. What is
but
that?
That's different.
Hey, hold on.
She can cancel herself all she wants, but that's not the same as quitting her job.
Okay, well, what does that mean?
Right.
She asks.
I don't know.
How did you know that's exactly what she wrote next?
Exactly.
I don't know.
I don't know.
So we don't even know what she doesn't know. It was kind of funny in her old bio on her, faculty page and all that. It said the very first thing says Jess Krug is an unrepentant child of the hood. I just can't.
Well, but that's a lie too, because she just repented.
Oh, good point. She did.
She just repented. These people. This is the eroticism of self-flagellation. These are people who are sexual masochists. They beat themselves, they stripe themselves, and they really get off on watching them do it to themselves in the mirror. This is literally the analogy for this, right? Watch me suffer, watch my pain. Good, you canceled yourself, and it sounds like the university is going to cancel you too. All you've done is succeeded now in making it that much more easy for university to cancel people altogether. Congratulations. Thanks for your lies. Thanks for your deception. Thanks for the fact that you got where you were by lying about who you were. But I'm sorry, I got to step back and say this. If I had said, parallel to her, I'm a woman, right? I have appropriated female culture. I've formulated relationships with people who thought I was a woman, who allowed me to be a woman. In reality, I am not a woman. There's nothing female about me. And though, therefore, I want to be canceled, you'd be called a bigot, an anti-transphobic bigot, right? So isn't it amazing how race is somehow clearly actually, race is more malleable than gender. Right? Because we think about all the gradations of skin color. Throw the picture up again real quick of her, Mike. She doesn't look black. I mean, I know you're not supposed to say things like that, but if someone like that has been able to pose as black for all these years and no one said anything, the fact remains that race is much more subjective than gender is. And yet, everybody's piling on her for pretending, but no one would dare do that in the case of gender. It just shows you how completely backwards and stupid all of this progressive gerrymandering of reality is.
It's actually happened. It's finally happened. I can't believe it took so long for this to happen. But Planned Parenthood has been called out for what it is, a bunch of racist eugenicists. And they're being called out by more than 100 American black leaders, and they're telling them to disavow the racist legacy and end their systemic racism that targets black lives in the womb. About time. So a letter was written and sent to Planned Parenthood's acting president, Alexis McGill Johnson. In the letter, these 100 American black leaders asked McGill Johnson to, quote, confront the systemic racism of America's abortion practices and to publicly renounce the racist legacy of your founder, Margaret Sanger. They say, Ms. Johnson, your words about the Black Lives Matter movement ring hollow while your organization perpetuates this racist legacy. Will you confront the inequity that your abortion practices perpetrate against Black lives? Will you fight the racism that targets Black lives in the womb?
And the answer is no. So let's not pretend that they did this. All they did is Planned Parenthood threw Margaret Sanger under the bus.
Oh, that
they did.
Yeah. What the
right?
response has been.
That's what they did. And it's
Sure.
hard not to. But let's play the game here, kids. What the founding fathers, right, have been thrown under the bus. Yeah. And so we've torn down their statues, but that's not all Black Matters wants. They want to completely tear down the system and rewrite it along Marxist lines. That's what has to happen for justice. So it's not enough, Planned Parenthood, that you took the obvious eugenics racist Margaret Sanger, your founder, and threw her under the bus. That's not enough. And they asked you for more. Stop disproportionately aborting Black babies in big inner cities. And you're not changing that. You threw a dead Margaret Sanger, you threw her under the bus. But all those live babies, Black babies that are being slaughtered every day in Planned Parenthood clinics, you have done nothing to address that. If we're going to have to get rid of the Constitution, liberty, freedom, free markets, because, institutional racism, you have got to stop immediately aborting Black babies, period. Now, of course, they're not going to do it. They aren't going to do it. They haven't done it. They won't do it. But if we're going to play holding everybody accountable to the same rules, they should start. You're actively killing Black babies at higher rates than any other race. Stop it.
And they actually gave stats within the letter. They said that Black women are only 13% of the female population, but represent 36% of all abortions. Black women are only 13% of the female population, but represent 36% of all abortions. And Black women are also 5 times more likely than white women to receive an abortion. In some cities like New York, they actually have more Black children who are aborted every year than are actually born alive. Okay? More are aborted than born alive. That's insane. In today's world, that's
African American women are 3 times likely to have abortions, 5 times likely.
More likely than the white women.
Exactly. It's amazing.
Yeah.
When you think about it, these are Black lives that are being slaughtered in the womb. And these, if you haven't figured it out yet, the African Americans who are demanding this are mostly pastors. Many of them are. They're not Black Lives Matter pastors. They're not radical left-wingers. They're actually more, for lack of a better word, conservative African Americans who are trying to hold the murder machine, the Black murder machine that is Planned Parenthood, trying to hold them accountable the same way Black Lives Matter is trying to hold the rest of us accountable. And it's interesting, isn't it? That what did they do? Okay, they threw the white woman under the bus. Utterly unsurprising. I think they used to give out the Margaret Sanger Award every year. They've changed the name. Other than that, they've done nothing. The killing continues. This is the kind of operation, if we're going to play this game, that you should start rallying. You just got to start marching. Why aren't you burning down African American lovers of African American people? Why aren't you burning down Planned Parenthoods in these neighborhoods? Why are you not torching them to the ground? Why are you not dancing in the rubble if what you really want to do is save Black lives?
Well, I mean, with all the protests and the burning and looting and everything that has been going on, it's going to happen because across America, Planned Parenthood, their surgical facilities target the minority communities. And in fact, 79% of their actual facilities are located in or near communities of color, which tends to be the big
liquor
cities
stores,
across
gun shops. Yep. And abortion clinics, right? Let's talk about that systemic racism. And let's talk about Margaret Sanger, white liberals, and the culture of Black death in abortion syndromes. Let's talk about that systemic racism, you liberal hypocrites.
It's time for some real education. The Ballad of Red and Gold is a poem by Oscar Wilde written in exile in Berneval-le-Grand after his release from Reading Gaol on May 19, 1897. Wilde had been incarcerated in Reading after being convicted of gross indecency and sentenced to 2 years hard labor in prison. During his imprisonment, a hanging took place. Charles Thomas Wooldridge had been a trooper in the Royal Horse Guards. He was convicted of cutting the throat of his wife, Laura Ellen, earlier that year at Clewer near Windsor. He was aged 30 when he was executed.
And let's be clear, the Ballad of Redingal is a jail. He went to jail, and let's call it what it is, for sodomy is what he went to jail for. He was a homosexual at a time when engaging in homosexual acts was against the law. He was, the trial that he went to jail for was, many people argue now, a big setup, that Wilde was very flamboyant. I mean, if you know anything about, this is the guy who, when he came to America, he was asked by customs agents, do you have anything to declare? His response was, only my genius, right? You think about the very flamboyant way you might make such a statement. But it was his flamboyance and his flouting of traditional convention that brought this charge against him. It was a setup to some degree. He spent some time in jail for it, but it was in jail, I think, that his understanding of prison reform really kicked in. He recognized that the prison systems were very broken, and the cruelty, the injustice, the violence that took place in these prisons as well. So while he was there, he made good use of his time. Katie mentioned there was a very famous hanging trial that took place. A man of the nobility was ultimately convicted of killing his wife and then hanged in the prison. And that gets us to the poem he wrote. The Ballad of Reading Gaol. The jail was in Reading, and this is the ballad of that jail. And it talks about, and it's really interesting. I kind of like about, first of all, Wilde was just an unarguable genius. He's a brilliant man, incredibly talented. But I kind of like the fact that when he was in jail, he didn't spend time writing about his own problems, didn't write about what got him in prison. His human understanding and empathy for other people took him to someplace else. Rather than writing about sodomy laws or that kind of thing, or trying to excuse or justify his own behavior, he's moved by the plight of others. And here's just a sample of that really neat poem. Now remember, it's a ballad, so it's meant to be read in a very jaunty manner. In Reading Gaol by Reading town there is a pit of shame, and in it lies a wretched man eaten by the teeth of flame. In a burning winding sheet he lies, and his grave has got no name. And there till Christ call forth the dead, in silence let him lie. No need to waste the foolish tear, or heave the windy sigh. The man had killed the thing he loved, and so he had to die. And all men kill the things they love. By all let this be heard. Some do it with a bitter look, some with a flattering word. The coward does it with a kiss, the brave man with a sword. There's some deep philosophy there. This is perhaps the most famous passage in the poem, definitely, and one of the most famous things Oscar Wilde ever said in a career of saying memorably unforgettable things. Go back to that particular clip. All men kill the things they love. That all of us ultimately are hardest on that which we are closest to. And it doesn't mean by kill here you have to strangle your wife, but that wife that you're married to who you ought to love and support, or that husband, you kill him with a nasty look or a nasty comment or neglect. Let me read that again. This man had killed the thing he loved, and so he had to die. And all men kill the things they love. By all let this be heard. Some do it with a bitter look, some with a flattering word. The coward Judas does it with a kiss, the brave man with a sword. For each man kills the thing he loves, yet each man does not die. He does not die a death of shame on a day of dark disgrace, nor have a noose about his neck, nor a cloth upon his face, nor drop feet foremost through the floor into an empty space. He does not sit with silent men who watch him night and day, who watch him when he tries to weep and when he tries to pray, who watch him lest himself should rob the prison of its prey, right? That the cruelty of this, right, the nature of this, all of us kill the things we love, but only some of them pay the ultimate price for it. And that particular poem by Oscar Wilde was recommended to us for Instant Classic by Alexander Kelly of North Carolina. Alexander, this is not the first time, Alex, you've recommended something. You got good taste. Thanks for recommending Oscar Wilde to us for Instant Classic.
All right, just as a reminder, these premier beverage vessels of freedom are now available when you join our Patriot Club with a one-time $99 tax-deductible donation. All you have to do is visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us. Your gift keeps this show going, so thank you, and thank you once again. Now we're going to wrap things up with our fun fact of the day. There's a baby boom in the month of September. I didn't know that. An average September day will have more babies born than on a day in any other month.
Well, wouldn't it be not the baby boom in September, but the 9 months earlier?
Well, that's
So if
that's
September's
when you
the
get a boom and then you get a baby.
Yeah, so
it's
what?
boom baby, not
help
baby
me,
boom.
Help me out here. What month would that be of conception?
Well, it's the 9th month.
January. So these are
Or-
New Year's babies.
New Year, Christmas babies.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the holidays is the wom chicka wom wom. September sees them born. And by the way, I'm drinking Dr. Pepper, or as my southern friends would say, Dr. Pfeffer. I'm drinking Dr. Pfeffer from my tumbler, and it's just so much more peppery. And that's going to do it for us today. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my patriot.